VeChain price update.
Let's get into it.
So today, guys, we've got quite the video lined up. We've got some VeChain news. We'll talk a little bit about the FUD that's out there. We'll get into the fear and greed index. Generally speaking, it's quite fearful out there. We'll have a look and see how VeChain compares to that using EVI. We'll also be taking a look at Bitcoin's dominance, the VeChain charts at the weekly, the daily, and the hourly views. And then, of course, we're wrapping this up with our final thoughts and expectations when it comes to VeChain. Guys, if you find this video useful and informative, do go ahead and smash that like button. We both really do appreciate that. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you'd like to stay up to date with all those new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems, the technical analysis and news, then do go ahead and subscribe. By subscribing, you'll be kept up to date with everything we do here. It is free. You'll stay well informed. So why not? Right, Chris, before we jump on down to the desktop, is there anything else that you feel that we should add?
Yeah, lots of FUD going around, particularly around BMW. A quick Google search, though, highlights BMW confirming it as a partner on Twitter back in, I think it was 2017, 2018. So, yeah, lots of FUD out there. We've seen, FUD around Bitcoin recently. Obviously, they're trying to push the price down. This is part and parcel of the crypto space.
Absolutely. It's basically a big shakeout. They can see that there's retail money still out there in the space, and they want to shake that out. This is the institutions in order to move things on again. Basically, they feel that unless they are shaken out of the market, they cannot progress on. They want to basically capitalize on all of your funds and basically make you feel incredibly fearful, which is why we talk about the fear and greed index, why we talk about how important it is to review EVI's platform, because it shows you coin-specific fear and greed index. And obviously, they are using, this is the institutions, the master manipulators behind all of this, are using Bitcoin's dominance as an indicator to tell them just how much retail money is actually still out there in altcoins that could be shaken out of the market. They want to increase Bitcoin's dominance, and they're going to be doing that through this FUD, fear, doubt, uncertainty, all of that kind of stuff. And I feel that it's important that we all stay very aware of what they're doing and their tactics in this market right now. Okay, with that said, Chris, let's jump on down and get into the very first piece, of fantastic news really for VeChain.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Chinese government officials meet with VeChain to praise its technology. So China has been, grabbing the headlines in regards to cryptocurrencies in the past month, but for the wrong reasons, right? Lots of FUD out there as well. The country is seeking to stamp out Bitcoin mining while also prohibiting banks from processing crypto-related transactions. However, a refreshing change, government officials have praised blockchain technology, specifically VeChain. And again, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you can see here that what's been going on here. And basically, they are looking and discussing potential transformative collaborations. This would not be the first time that VeChain have met with government officials. Specifically within China. But obviously, this is something that you see quite a bit with VeChain because it is, of course, the only 5-star rated blockchain service provider in the world. And it does some remarkable things, unlike some many other blockchain technologies out there or tokens out there that just don't really have a solid use case. VeChain is basically one of those blockchain technologies and one of those projects that is so widely adopted in the real world, and why we call this one out as being so undervalued. It's got partnerships like BMW, believe it or not, Renault, we have H&M, Walmart, China. We've obviously seen lots going on with traceability and COVID-19 over in Cyprus, right? So there's so much things, and it is literally worldwide. It's not just concentrated specifically on China or anything like that. Obviously, they are closer, so they do a lot of work over there. But ultimately, this is another piece of fantastic news where I'm sure we're going to start seeing a lot more announcements being made here with whatever these collaborations are moving further forward. So some fantastic news to kind of kickstart things off with here. And other piece of news that came out is that V4 or VeChain 4 hits 1 million accounts, which is another piece of fantastic positive news. So here's the tweet from the VeChain Foundation. It says that we've hit 1 million VeChain 4 accounts as of May 26th. a month before VeChain Fall's 3rd anniversary. We're steadily heading towards mass adoption together with enterprise users and active VET and VIP 180 holders from the community. So fantastic news going on here. And this is, ultimately one of the most widely used blockchain technologies in the world. In the real world, right? We're not talking about dApps running on Ethereum here. We're talking about real use case in the real world, and that is where VeChain really comes into its own. So some two pieces of fantastic news here to kickstart things with VeChain. Now, obviously, if we go into the fear and greed index here, we can see that we've actually dropped down yet again. The extreme fear is apparently out there, right? So fear and greed index, generally speaking, for the entire crypto space now has a rating of 10. What's very unclear is how this is derived. We do not know how this particular fear and greed index is derived. Is it a group of a panel of people that decide, that it's extreme fear out there, or is it algorithmic? Has it got artificial intelligence and all that kind of stuff? We do not know. What I do know is that it keeps changing from day to day, and right now we should be in extreme fear, at least according to this. And what's really interesting is when you start dabbling at or looking at VeChain via advice.io. Okay, now when we look at this, we have an overall rating of C1. And we just scroll on down here for a moment and we see the fear and greed index is actually at a D. So again, this is more aligned to the fear and greed index, and this one actually runs off artificial intelligence and machine learning, no human intervention. So I kind of feel that this one is a little bit more accurate. So right now we can see there is a bit of fear when it comes to VeChain. And again, this is a little bit in line with this. I wouldn't say it was extreme fear, but it is definitely very fearful. So it's good to know that we know exactly how VeChain is performing from a fear and greed index. But above and beyond that, we can also see how the liquidity is. We can also see the Sharpe ratio. And again, this is also goes in line with how much fear is out there at the moment. The risk to reward here is relatively low here at grade D as well. So ultimately, it doesn't look the best from these couple indicators at the top here from loads of fear. There's risk to rewards because of that fear. But when we scroll down, we have that profitability. And this actually shows us an A1 rating, which is the highest rating you can get via EVI. So ultimately, it's highly profitable, yet it's got loads of fear in the space. So these two things are almost opposites. So really interesting to see how this kind of develops over time. Now, as we get into a few additional pieces of technical data, hopefully you guys will see what I am seeing as well as I try to point these out to you. So right now, yes, there's fear in the market. We can kind of see that. This whole weekend has been geared up specifically to try to push the prices down. And we kind of spoke about this yesterday as we were talking about how there is basically in the process of a Wyckoff accumulation phase where the price will potentially go up for Bitcoin, push back down, up, down, until it finally goes into the Wyckoff distribution phase, which we're all familiar with now because that is what has been done in the past. Now, for VeChain here, I don't think there's a Wyckoff actually forming, but I feel there is something else really important that we need to talk about. So as we get into that, let's just quickly touch on Bitcoin's dominance. As briefly mentioned at the beginning of the video here, this is the indicator that is going to be telling so many institutions, etc., that there's still money out there, retail money inside altcoins that they want to shake out. And they want to shake this money out so that they can line their own pockets and then push the prices back up. So what they are doing is they're manipulating everything to push the price down, and they're using things like the Wyckoff accumulation phase to do this. And again, if you follow Bitcoin's the movement of Bitcoin, whales, and where they are moving at all, you'll be able to actually track when Bitcoin moves on exchanges, when it moves off exchanges, and you kind of see exactly what's going on. And you've timed these things with what we showed out yesterday in our video. You'll also be able to see actually, yeah, this kind of makes a lot of sense. Now, right now with Bitcoin dominance being 43, that is quite low. So this still does tell retail, or it tells investors of the institutional level that there is still retail money here in the space. Now, if we zoom on out and go back over to 2017, 2018, this is exactly what happened previously. We dropped Bitcoin dominance down to 37. Loads of people were shaken out of the market. Bitcoin's dominance rose to 50. And again, this would have been like a bit of an accumulation phase where Bitcoin was dropped back down again towards 42, 43, and then pushed back up, back down, and then it shot right up towards 67% before the altcoin season actually finally peaked out here, where Bitcoin's dominance dropped down to 30%. Okay, so where are we currently sat? Well, we're currently sat right here. And what we're expecting to happen is to push up, push down, push right up before we really do pull this thing all the way down to the bottom there and start seeing how ultimately the alt season actually goes a little bit later on. And I'm not going to bring up the stock to flow model. I feel I've overdone that one nowadays, but ultimately it does show that we're about halfway through the cycle, and we are still expecting the peak to happen. We are not in a bear market. This is a bear phase, if anything. And I don't even like that terminology. This is a correction, and it's also being manipulated to be an extended accumulation phase at the moment. So Bitcoin dominance, it's important to keep an eye on it, because this does tell us the same things that it is telling those institutions. There's retail money still here that has not been shaken out, and I couldn't be more proud of everyone who's hodling. But let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into the VeChain chart. Okay, guys, so this is at the top level. This is the weekly view for VeChain. This again shows us that 5-wave theory that I have mapped out. We have wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, wave 1 was actually triggered at the March crash of 2020 and actually peaked out up here on the 3rd of April. Everyone can remember the all-time highs that were set for VeChain back in August. They were fantastic. And then we had the pullback, which was also an interesting level. This actually pulled back to the previous area of resistance here and support just here. So it was an obvious correction point. Now, wave 2 is usually 50 to 60% of wave 1, and that's kind of what you saw here as well. Then we go into wave 3 as of the beginning of November. Wave 3 triggered and peaked out up here on the 12th of April. Now, during that particular point, this particular wave has been the largest one so far. And this is usually the case when it comes to Elliott waves. Wave 3 is always going to be the biggest. Now, with this, there's a correction, which is wave 4. Now, wave 4 is typically 40% of wave 3. So it can seem quite steep and quite a big hit when you've moved such a large amount according to wave 3. Now, the problem that you have here, or say problem, but the thing that you have to bear in mind with Elliott waves is there's certain rules. We have the first rule that I want to talk about, which is if wave 2 here is flat, then wave 4 is going to be sharp. If wave 2 here is sharp, wave 4 will be flat. So in this particular case for VeChain, we've seen wave 2 here being very, very flat. It's a slow and gradual correction, whereas wave 4 is nice and sharp. Okay, so this makes me believe that this is actually the bottom of wave 4 that we've actually had, and it's a little bit extended above that 40% correction against wave 3. So we do see that as something that's potentially in line with our expectations. And also wave 5 then is triggered from here, and this thing can go out to about $1, $1.50. Okay, at the kind of the maximum level. Now, what's interesting about that is the Fibonacci retracement also triggers this at about $1. Now, let's set some expectations. We are not saying that VeChain is going to go to $1 in the next couple of weeks or the next month. It is going to go to about $1, and I'm pretty confident on that. And by the end of the year and at the peak of this bull run, which is approximately December, January time. That is my expectation, and I think that should be everyone else's expectations too. I do think it's going to go there, but it's not going to go there overnight. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. And for all those people who thought that they could just invest $100 and turn it into $10,000 in a matter of days, this just simply isn't for you, and you should probably reconsider your positions. If, however, you're the right kind of investor with the right kind of mindset and you have vision, then you can see this thing go into $1 by the end of the bull run. So really interesting stuff's going on here. So this is just the weekly view. And what I'm going to do is show you some interesting stuff on that daily view as well. So again, on this daily view, we'll just expand this up. We can see how we've had that correction come down here towards our level just down here. This actually bottomed out at about 5.1 cent. And from there, we obviously have had a bit of a rally back to the upside, found more resistance on our downward trend. And then obviously we found good support yesterday at around 9 cent as well. Now on this daily view, you can also see the 50, the 100, the 200 moving averages moving along nicely there. We're actually kind of sandwiched between the 100 and 200 moving averages on this daily chart, and the volumes are also decreasing, so we're running out of steam very, very fast. We can also see that we're actually quite low on that relative strength index on the daily chart. This means that we're not likely to fall too far because there isn't too far to fall before you become oversold. Okay, so there's important things just to remember here on that daily chart. Now, it really comes to life when we start looking at this on the hourly view. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, guys, and expand to see what was going on. Now, as I pull this down, we can see a few things that are actually occurring in this chart. We obviously have our downward trend line that was triggered all the way up here. And this particular trend line has multiple touch points on it, okay? And this one is something worth kind of pointing out, because this downward trend line has been consistently forming an area, a barrier of resistance, okay? But at the same time, we also have an upward trend line from our low point here, another touch here, and again, it was touched on yesterday. So this is an important upward trend. And what does this mean? This means that we're getting a triangular wedge forming, and this actually has a breakout event occurring somewhere between the 1st of June and the 2nd of June. So I'm expecting a bit of a breakout event to occur here. But before then, I am also expecting us to go back down in value. So being Sunday today, we can see lots going on in this particular subset of candles, right? So if I just zoom on in here, and we can take a little bit of a look at see what's going on, right? So the first thing worth noticing is you had this death cross, if you will, the 50 moving average crossing the 200 moving average. Now, when this actually happened here, the price did drop a little bit, but it couldn't go too far because we're already kind of close to being oversold. So it fell down, found good support here at 9.2 cent, and that also coincided with our upward trend line. Since then, we actually started to move right back up without correcting that 50 and 200 moving averages. They are still crossed over. They haven't recrossed or anything like that. So right now, this actually hasn't actually done anything for the price massively in terms of a negative impact. Instead, we found good support, reconfirmed our upward trend, which is a positive, and then we moved the price up to this area here. Now, well, the only thing to bear in mind is we are now close to the overbought area, so I'm expecting the price to come back down. During this particular trend, I imagine that we should come down towards this area here, support line, should hopefully hold up, and we should be able to then get a bounce from there. So today, I do feel you're going to have a bit of a red day for VeChain as we move this price back down towards our low area on this relative strength index. In doing so, we should hopefully confirm our area of support on our upward trend line, and that will continue the motion to complete our breakout event later in the 1st to the 2nd of June. Okay, so this is a really good piece of news, guys, because this confirms several things. We obviously have our downward trend line that we know about. We also have our upward trend line that is starting to form here quite nicely. It also shows that the death cross is not as strong as the relative strength index, and that actually when you're oversold, there's nowhere else to go but up. So that was fantastic news to see this break out. Now, my expectations are that ultimately, once we have this corrected and we've actually kind of get through today, get through tomorrow, and then on Tuesday and Wednesday, we should start to see things really heat up here with VeChain. My expectations are that we'll fall back down here. We'll probably go and push back up to this level here. We'll push probably back down to here, and then we'll have this breakout event where we'll go up to a couple of key areas. My expectations are that we'll find probably resistance at around 14 cents, something like that. Maybe we'll have a back test towards here, and then we'll break it up to about there. Okay, those are my expectations when it comes to VeChain on this hourly chart. And I know this might not be a huge, massive movements to many, but this is a complete divergence of the current trend and ultimately does set things in motion going further forward. So I could see a move here towards that 14 to 15 cent, which could be, you know, a 50% move on the current position. Okay, so we could start to see this thing really heat up very quickly, and we could see some pretty good short-term trades potentially forming. Now, as a long-term holder, this is great. It doesn't really affect me too much because ultimately I tend to wind more about what's going on that weekly view. Okay, I'm thinking long-term, and I'm thinking I want to be going for that wave 5 up there. I am watching everything and making sure everything is in line with my expectations with this, and that by the end of the year, we should be up at towards that $1, $1.50 area. Okay, so short-term stuff, I mainly do this because I feel that you guys want to know immediately what's going on with VeChain, but I'd like to make sure that we're also very aware of where we are going on this journey with VeChain. And again, this only is relating to the 2021 bull run. Imagine what this may be looking like during the 2025 bull run, once VeChain and many other blockchain technologies are so widely adopted and we enter a mature market. I do feel that VeChain is going to be one of the serious blockchain projects that are out there in the world during the next bull run. And I do think that actually there's a longer term play above and beyond just 2021. But Chris, that's everything I have for VeChain. Is there anything else that you feel that you want to add?
So yeah, I think you just got to know what it is that you hold, Nick. Obviously, lots of FUD going around at the moment. if you know that the project, the tech, the team, and there's no actual negative change on the project, then it's still sound to invest. So yeah, all this BMW stuff and various other China FUD, it's part and parcel of investing in something really early on.
Absolutely. Guys, if you found this useful and informative, do go ahead and hit that like button for us. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you'd like to stay up to date with all that technical analysis, those new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems and news, then why not become a subscriber? By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here. It is free. You'll stay well informed. So why not? With that said, done and out of the way, we hope you have a fantastic day, guys, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Yeah, take care.